Hi, welcome to Basic Math. Today we're going to start looking at decimals. So in this video we're going to look at two things really. We're going to look at place value of decimals, and then we're going to look at rounding decimals. So the rest of everything else that we're going to do with decimals, you'll find those in my other videos for decimals. But for now, let's get started. Place value. So place value is just the value that we assign to a particular number. So for instance, if we're talking about money, if you have $5, that would go in this spot right here, right in front of the decimal point where I put that 7. And those would be whole dollars, right? So we have 5, you could have ones, right? You have your ones place where the 7 is, and those would be dollar bills. And then the next one would be tens, because it takes 10 ones to get to that next place. And then we have hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so forth. Now with decimals, we're going the other direction. So again, if I cover up a couple of these decimal places, 7.31, the 3 here is like the dimes place, right? It takes 10 dimes to equal $1. So the 3 would say I have 30 cents. And that is because it takes 10 of these to get us our whole, we call it tenths. The next place would be hundredths, which would, line up with our pennies. And then I have some extra numbers here, and they don't line up with any of our money, but sometimes they're useful. So 4 is the thousandths, and the 5 is in the 10,000ths place. Now, importantly, the places as we go to the right of the decimal point are very similar to all the ones we would have going to the left. Going to the left, we have our ones place, but then we have tens, hundreds, thousands. After the decimal point, we don't have any ones placed over here, but we do have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. Now, it's very important that you notice that with all of these different names that we have for these places, they're the same as the ones on the left of the decimal point, but we've added a th, which means it's that many would make a whole. So tenths place says it makes 10, it takes 10 to make a whole. Hundredths place says it takes 100 to make a whole, and so forth. So we can continue this out using the same sort of places. The next one would be hundred thousandths, and then millionths, and 10 millionths, and 100 millionths. And we just keep basically, we just keep adding that th to the end, and it all works. All right, so next up, we're going to look at rounding, but let me change the board before we do that. All right, so for rounding, we just need to know a few things, and this should work out reasonably well. First off, you have to know those place values, okay? So when we say something like round to the nearest hundredth, you have to know that that is the second decimal place. So really work on knowing those place values. So how do we actually do it? Well, first of all, we find the place we're trying to round to, and then we look at the next number, and you'll see that in the example I have right behind me. And once we do that, we check and we say, is that next number 4 or lower? And if it is, we keep the place that we're looking at the same. Is it 5 or higher? And if it is, we increase the place that we're looking at by 1. So here's my example. Round to the nearest hundredth, 0.41782. That's a lot of decimal places, and it might be more than we really need. So we're being asked to round it to the hundredths place. So you'll notice I underlined the 1 because the 1 here is in the hundredths place. That's how many decimal places I want. I want my answer to only have 2 decimal places, and you can see down here it does. So I looked then at that next number. I found the hundredths place. My next number is a 7, which is bigger than 5, so the 1 just goes up to a 2. And that's really rounding. I'll do one more example for you. I can't fit it on this board, so let me get it. All right, so next, let me move over to this side. Next, I have a little bit strange example for us to look at. Round to the nearest thousandth. So here you can see my number, 13.819601. A lot of decimal places. So I underline the 9 because the 9 is in the thousandths place. Remember, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And my next number is a 6. So we know that since 6 is bigger than 5, we've got to go up. But what is up from 9? 10 would be the right answer. So this gets a little bit weird. It's more like I'm taking 19 and rounding it up to 20, right? The 9 has to go up, but when it does, it also forces the 1 to go up. Now, you'll notice that this time I did leave a 0 here in the thousandths place. The directions ask us to round to the nearest thousandth, so we need to leave that 0 to represent that is my thousandths place after rounding. Okay, that's just how it works. So there you go. That's rounding. That's some basics with decimals, and yeah, thanks.